Well, hello there to all my viewers. I'm Dakian. This is Monday, the 2nd of May, 2016. The years pass by so quickly, don't they? Anyway, I thought I'd bring you my update on what I've painted since last I saw you, and in focus here is the big bad spider from Heresy Miniatures. You know, for comparison, for size, this guy is, well, he's not normal human size. He's even bigger. So, well, it's a pretty huge spider, and you can see I've done some work on putting various objects and detritus on the base, and I've tried to. The thing that didn't quite work out is, you see this white stuff here covering the corpse there and sort of coming down in strands from the mandibles. It's supposed to be thicker. This is an attempt at using my Yoo-hoo glue trick that I use for blood and gore. I tried to do a variant of that by mixing it simply with white paint and then drawing out strands of it. But yeah, the distance is probably too far, and the strands keep breaking, and well, at least you get the idea that there's some gobs of webbing on the spider and some on this dead guy here, or soon to be dead guy, perhaps. And the spider itself turned out okay, I think. Yeah, reasonable paint job. Let's move to the side. We have the two slightly smaller spiders from Reaper, which also turned out okay. The bodies here are, I don't know, an experiment in blending. Not sure if it looks any good. I put some little details. Their bases looked a bit too boring, so I put a skull on each, you know, for old victims. These forest basing stamps from War Games Bakery, kind of a boring pattern. It doesn't really look like anything. It's too naturalistic. Possibly the leaves and whatever are too small, and they need to be outsized, you know, really out of scale to be visible at this size. Oops. But, oh well, you live and you learn. Who is this guy? This is a guy that I just started. I don't think I only showed you this guy in his blister last week. There we go. So I painted this guy, very stark shadows and highlights. Sort of orangish skin tone tan with purple shading. Just because I wanted it to stand, the muscles to stand out really well. It looks cartoony, but he is sort of a cartoon character. Now for the base, there's some stuff here, you can see behind him, and that's simply added because once I glued him onto the base in the super glue I'd already set, I realized I'd made a mistake. I placed the feet at the proper place if he'd been standing upright, but the thing is he's leaning forward quite a lot, so he's unbalanced. Not that he'll topple over, but the composition is unbalanced in that there was a lot of empty space behind him on the base. So I found these gears and stuff that, I don't know, I got for free as a promotion at some time. These are like etched brass thingies, and I just piled on some of them and I put a shade wash over it to dull them down a bit, and well, Bob's your uncle. Hopefully that helps it look a bit better. Final miniature painted is the Spawn Mother. Now if you compare it to the box art, well, the artwork is kind of a pastel green, whereas the painted version is more towards the brownish. They've shaded very dark beige here. I've gone I've gone for more of a pure green, dirty green kind of look, various tones of green, and yeah, it's a matter of taste. It's not my best work, but I'm okay with it. It was a difficult model to paint. And finally, from the scenery studio, I finally finished the Chaos Tree. Well, again, I didn't feel terribly inspired by it, but I had some ideas and I finished it up, and it's okay to put on the battlefield, I think. So, that was all the finished stuff this week. For the in progress section, there's not a lot to show you. There's a couple of unfinished models that you've seen before that have not advanced in any way since last week. Here are the two new ones that I've started. This is the Pulp Hero PB Pew, which I have primed and started to work on the metallics. Painted the gun and the belt buckle, and I just put in a dark color for the belt itself, just as a preliminary thing. And for Rosie Johnson Chronotech, I have also done metallic work. There's more, on the boots, it's only the sort of exoskeleton that's supposed to be metallic, and underneath that it's going to be leather. I haven't painted that in yet. And same thing with the belt. There's just a few metallic details on there, and the rest is going to be leather. And on the goggles, well, it's just the rim of the goggles, and the earpieces, I think, are going to wind up being metallic in the end. Then I'll paint the actual lenses some other color, and painting a bit of something to show the straps. Maybe leather, maybe cloth, some color. The wrench is done, apart from the grip. But yeah, it's coming along nicely. So once again this week I want to go relatively light on the additions to my painting queue. I don't want to have too many projects going at once because I think I might be busy with other stuff. But I'm looking at 3 models I want to add. And these are just... the first 2 are one Dark Age model and one Wolsung model. These are models for certain specific games that I don't actually play, but I picked up a single model from each just to look at what they were like, the quality and whatnot. This is Lucky from Dark Age and Harriet Kinsley from Wolsung, and the idea here is that Harriet Kinsley, she looks, I mean, Wolsung is kind of a steampunky game, but she looks like she could be almost an historical figure. And this is just a general sort of sci-fi post-apocalypse thing. And also, let me, you know what, let me get these out of the packages and I'll show them to you in a better way. Now the first one here is Lucky from Dark Age, holding some sort of gun. And here's her stat card for the game, which I'm going to have to try to keep track of in case I ever want to actually play the game. And for some reason, she comes with one of these. It's a 30mm base, but it's the kind of deep dish version, the high rim, and there's no tab, which is weird because the model has a tab on it. I mean, compared to Harriet Kinsley, who comes with a standard 30mm base, I mean, these have the exact same footprint, and well, you can tell the height is not that different. It's pretty much the same. I mean, you could put Lucky on one of these. I don't know which way to turn it. She'll probably be that way. And that would look just as good. So that's probably what I'm going to do for simplicity's sake, because I have a lot of bases exactly like this one. Now, Harriet, obviously has a tab, of course, and also stands on the base like so. Not sure if you can tell what she looks like. She's like a Victorian kind of explorer with her khakis and the pith helmet. And the only thing that's not quite historical is this sort of blunderbuss rifle she's holding, which is, yeah, not 19th century, and it's something like this. Let's see, where does it attach? It attaches like this. And so she's holding it away from the body a little bit, which means that I will attach it before painting just as well, because the connections are probably a bit finicky. And I said I was going to show you 3 models. Here's the third. It doesn't come in a blister, it just came in a baggie. This is a hassle-free miniature, number X006 from the D-Minutes range, Isabelle. So a fancy miniature. Let's see. How do you open this thing? How do you open the baggie? Where is the opening? Man, I'm clumsy today. Okay, so I cut out the part where I was fumbling for several minutes trying to open a baggie. As you can see, she's not really a demon per se. I think she's supposed to be some sort of nymph, because she's sitting on a rock with just a little blanket to cover her modesty. And there's no base per se. I could probably put her on something like this, or probably a normal 30mm base would do, and do some sort of water effects around it perhaps, because, you know, it is kind of a Little Mermaid look. And this will allow me to practice painting skin tones, of course, quite a lot. In fact, you know, I'm going to spend a few minutes cleaning up all these models, and then I'll come back and show them to you again. So after a little bit of filing and washing, we've cleaned these models up, and I don't think there's any mold lines left, but if there are, they will show up when I watch this back on video, and then I can go back and take them out once and for all. This sculpt, or rather this cast here at Kinsley, it was kind of odd how they placed the mold, because it led to a slight mold line coming down the left side of her face, and I think I've taken it out, because if I'd left that in and painted it carelessly, it would have looked like she had a big scar. Now, she could be a tough adventurer with a scar, but I think I got rid of that. Otherwise, nothing in particular on her, or on the rifle. As for Lucky here, this was a clean casting with no real mistakes on it. I think it looks pretty good. I'm not sure how to paint the clothing, because this dress, well, there's a skirt and it comes up to a sort of bodice, but there's a kind of like a bra strapped over it, and then her back is bare, and you could think that between the belt and the bra strap it would be skin, but no, because here in the front there's some sort of lacing, so there's probably cloth there as well. We'll see when I prime it if it becomes more obvious what the heck is going on here with the clothing. Now, for this girl, there's not much clothing going on. I did realize when it cleaned it up, if you can see, her nose has been dinged slightly in shipping or something, or handling. It's gotten a bump and it's been flattened slightly. Now I should point out that this is not the fault of Hassle-Free, because this model was not ordered from Hassle-Free themselves directly. I got it from another retailer, and it was bought over the net, of course, sight unseen. But I think because her head is slightly bowed down and you're looking at it from above most of the time, if I just highlight the part that's left of her nose, it'll look bigger, I hope, and that will fix that. Otherwise, a smooth sculpt with not a lot of issues. So, check back next week to see how far along these girls will have gotten then. Still beating the odds here, keeping ahead of the pack. And this is because of all the different miniatures I've ordered that are on their way to me, nothing arrived this week. I'm getting a bit concerned that all of the packages will suddenly arrive at once and I'll be swamped with new minis. But anyway, I did pick up something miniatures related this week, and it was this book, Uncharted Empires, which is the new army book for Kings of War. It has 9 new army lists with fluff. It's kind of a thin book. It's 72 pages. And this is the book that was sort of intended as a replacement for that other game. I mean, if you have played another miniatures war game with large numbers of units with square bases on them, and you want to use your old minis, some of these lists will allow you to do that. You need to jury-rig them a bit and maybe bring in some new models, and the fluff is very different, so they're not carbon copies. But anyway, we have first off the Brotherhood, which is a sort of the kingdom of the Brotherhood they live in, which is a strange name. They're, you know, dedicated fighters against the abyssal forces, and most of them are knights. They also have villeins, which is an old medieval word for peasant, so they're essentially peasant levies that are a bit better trained than normal peasants. And they have magic users that can call on water elementals. That's their theme. They have water-themed magic. And here's some more knights. The next is the Salamander armies, which are kind of lizard mini, except they have red scales because they're salamanders, they're fire-based. But they have these different sizes of lizardmen, the normal salamanders, they have the smaller geckota, and they have something called, what is it? What are they called? The different types. The Archosaurs, which, I don't know. They tend to be the leaders. The Herd are a bunch of neutral aligned beastmen, as opposed to evil beastmen. They're a bunch of centaurs, fauns, satyrs, lycans, and minotaurs, among others. So if you want to play like werewolves and centaurs and whatnot that are not evil, this is the faction for you. The League of Rordia is a group of duchies that have a bit of higher technology than the rest of the world. They have some guys with muskets, and in general they seem to be more of a Renaissance theme, maybe late Middle Ages, which might seem like a certain human faction from another game, but they also have within the borders a lot of halflings who provide a lot of units. So that's a different flavor. The Trident Realm of Neritiga. These are actually based on Mantic's own minis, the Nereid minis. It's just a different take on it, because these are included in the Forces of Nature army list as well, but this is their own purely sort of water-based list with the Naiads as the base unit, and Krakens and various placoderms. What's this? You know, dinosaurs? I don't know. The Empire of Dust, which is an undead army, specifically one with skeletons, mummies, swarms of beetles, undead scorpions, bone dragons. Yeah, you get the picture. The leader's the pharaoh. The Night Stalker armies, which are kind of odd. I'm not sure. I don't think they're inspired by any specific miniature range out there. These are all like, they're undead, but mostly insubstantial. A lot of specters, phantoms, nightmares, and a few other unusual types. Shades, banshees. An interesting theme. And finally the Ratkin, which are simply the rat people. Nothing oh, sorry, they were not the last. The last of the Varangur, another evil group of evil warriors with some ogres thrown into the mix. Or are they cave trolls? I'm not sure. And yeah. Interesting. For players of Kings of War. So that was a little mini review. I sort of got carried away there. Didn't intend to talk about it so much, but hey, what you gonna do to fill out the time? I'll see you again in a week from now. Or you can watch my videos from my other project that I will be posting in the meantime. But until I see you next time, this is Dakian, and I'm signing off.